We'll just start with the meeting. A warm welcome to all of you present here. My name is Chandraditya Rabha, the founder and secretary general of this conference. Before we start, we are honored to have in collaboration with United Nations Information Center and UN75. Today we have Ms. Radhika Mathur. She is the speaker of the UN75 plenary session. Radhika Mathur is a coordination officer for gender equality and youth development at the UN Resident Coordinator's Office in India. She has studied political science and has been working in the development field for more than 10 years. Based on her experience of working with marginalized communities, she is especially passionate about building women's leadership at all levels and advocating for young people participation in programs and policies that affect them. She is also an advocate for mental health needs and services. For recreation, enjoys traveling and most forms of music. Today we are honored to have Ms. Mathur. I would like you to, ma'am, take over the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me in this conference. I'm really excited to hear the presentations, the committees that I read about sound very exciting, and I look forward to your presentations as well. I'm just here to give you, while we get on with our presentations, just to give you sort of a stock taking of where we are right now with sustainable development. And I'll just switch my video off for now and share the screen with you for my presentation. 1 second. I don't think I can share screen. Okay, yeah, perfect. Right. So first of all, I want to congratulate all of you for organizing, this discussion at a very important time. We have just concluded our 75th United Nations General Assembly. We are also, as you would know, about the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action for Women's Rights. We have also just completed 25 years of that pact. We're also in 2020 launching the Decade of Action to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals. As you would know, that the Secretary General, to mark the 75th anniversary of the UN, had launched a debate called the UN75, and the event that we have organized today is also part of that. So just to take you through some of the findings that were put together as of 21st September 2020, as the Secretary General said, that this reflects the biggest desires as well as the biggest fears of 1 million people across the globe. Some of the findings are that they demand an improved access to basic services, education, healthcare, safe water and sanitation. They're interested in tackling poverty, inequalities, and boosting employment. Women's rights and access to education was also an important demand. Greater respect for human rights, settling conflicts, reducing corruption. The biggest fear that the survey takers expressed was for the future impact of climate change. Another thing that came out very strongly in all of the survey results was that there is still a need for international cooperation. There is still a need for multilateralism. You're also today, you're performing these different committees, and you're also acting as different UN entities. And this is important. As you would also realize in your discussions, that this is also important in tackling the biggest challenges that we have in front of ourselves. Innovation required for increased accountability and transparency. And the inclusion of diversity was also very strong demand. Inclusion of civil society, women, youth, vulnerable groups, cities and local authorities, businesses, regional organizations, and other international organizations. So we were also then talking about the second landmark, which was the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Pact. On the left-hand side in the darker black, you see the important achievements since the pact was signed at Beijing. One of the things is that 131 countries have enacted 274 legal and regulatory reforms in support of gender equality. More girls are in school than ever before. Parity in education has been achieved on average at the global level, yet large gaps remain across and within countries. The global maternal mortality ratio is still too high, at 38%, with 211 deaths per 100,000 live births, but has also you know reduced. If I could also give you an India comparison of this number, that in India, maternal mortality has decreased from 301 in 2001-2003 to 122 in 2015-17. The scope for improvement is in political representation of women. 1 in 4 seats are held by women in national parliaments. This is the global data. In India, the percentage of women representation in Central Council of Ministers has decreased from 17.8% in 2015 to 10.5% in 2019. But at the same time, at the panchayat level, 44.37% elected representatives are women. And 67% women also voted in the 2019 national election. So this is a mixed bag for India. Globally, women aged 25 to 35 are 25% more likely than men to live in extreme poverty. Unpaid care and domestic work still remains a big challenge for women's economic contribution. Women on average do 3 times as much unpaid care and domestic work as men, with long-term consequences for their economic security. Also to let you know that India has done its first ever time use survey. So if you go to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation website, you will see the data on women's contribution on unpaid care and domestic work, released just last week. The gender gap in labor force participation has stagnated globally over the past 20 years at 31 percentage points. In India, however, the female labor force participation rate has declined from 29.4 in 2004-2005 to 17.5 in 2017-18. And this is pre-COVID, 2017 and 18. There seems to be more decline since the COVID crisis. Gender parity in the workplace, where women are paid 16% less than men, and only 1 in 4 managers are women. Access to finance, share of women and men with an account at a financial institution is, men still have 72% access to financial institutions, and women only have 65%. 31% of young women aged 15 to 24 are not in education, employment, or training in 2020. More than double the rate for young men, 14%. For India, we have, so in 2011, young women aged 15 to 25 years recorded 82% literacy rate. Violence against women, 18% of ever partnered women aged 15 to 49 experienced sexual and or physical violence by an intimate partner in the previous 12 months. In India, the crimes against women as of 2015 to 2018, 7% of all crimes reported in India are crimes against women. 66% of such cases were disposed. However, the conviction rate stands at 2% in 2018 only, which is reflective of the overall conviction rate in India. The climate emergency will most affect those with limited access to land resources or the means to support themselves, and that's mostly women. 39% of employed women are working in agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, are hence vulnerable to climate change. And 40% of women who experience violence seek help of any sort, indicating barriers and lack of confidence in justice systems. 190 million women of reproductive age worldwide who wanted to avoid pregnancy did not use any contraceptive method in 2019. Proportion of women with their family planning needs satisfied in India by modern methods are 72. So relatively better. So this is, as you would know, that it's been 5 years since the SDGs were adopted, and in 2020 we, whatever gains that were already made, whatever progress had been made in the 5 years of SDGs has now been reversed to a very large extent because of the COVID-19 crisis. 71 billion people are at risk of being pushed back into extreme poverty all over the world. 1.6 billion already vulnerable workers who are already working in informal sector are now even more vulnerable in terms of having steady income, social security, and other challenges. Also the hazardous work conditions. 1 billion slum dwellers are at risk of COVID-19 because of their habitation type. They use common facilities. There is hardly any distance, a safe distance between the houses, and the population size at a given area of a slum is high. Women and children are most at risk. COVID-19 crisis has also affected the otherwise health and nutrition services for women and children. Women, as you know, the National Commission for Women data also says that women experienced more gender-based violence during lockdown than ever before. Other challenges with children are that 1.7 billion children are currently out of school with schools not reopening, out of which 370 million children globally depended on school meals. So they are currently not receiving the meals. Global gains in reducing child labor are likely to be reversed. And when we talk about child protection, issues like child marriage is also on the increase because of families going into extreme poverty. Climate change was always our challenge, and 2019 was the second warmest year on record, with other climate change related activities like land degradation, ocean acidification, etc. What do we do with the Decade of Action? This is a call to action by the Secretary General. He urges all of us to take action at an individual level, collectively, like all of you have organized this discussion today, at a local level, at a global level. We have to demand urgency and ambition, and win the race against climate change and conquer injustice and gender inequality. We have to look at sustainable innovation, financial investments in technology to overcome some of these challenges. The UN Secretary General started the year 2020 with a message to the world's young people that they are the greatest source of hope. From climate action to gender equality to social justice and human rights, your generation is on the front lines and in the headlines. I am inspired by your passion and determination. You are rightly demanding a role in shaping the future. I am with you. The United Nations stands with you and belongs to you. Some of the opportunities of, at the UN for young people. One is that the United Nations has put together a strategy on youth engagement. There are 5 priorities. The first one is amplifying youth voices for the promotion of a peaceful, just, and sustainable world. The second is supporting young people's greater access to quality education and health services. Supporting young people's greater access to decent work and productive employment. Protect and promote the rights of young people and support their civic and political engagement. Support young people as catalysts for peace and security and humanitarian action. Generation Unlimited is a global campaign launched by UNICEF, is also running in India. It is a global multi-sector partnership which involves private sector, which involves decision makers, which involves the civil society, also the diversity of civic leaders, to meet the urgent need for expanded education, training, and employment opportunities for young people aged 10 to 24. The focus is on creating public-private partnerships globally and in countries to co-create and support investment opportunities, programs, and innovations at a large scale, and to help young people become productive in life. So the idea is that the Sustainable Development Goals can be achieved if there is focus, urgent focus on young people's education and employability opportunities. Generation equality, we just talked about the Beijing Pact for Gender Equality, and at the 25th anniversary, UN Women has announced the Generation Equality Campaign. This brings together the next generations of women's rights activists with gender equality advocates and visionaries who were instrumental in creating the Beijing Platform for Action more than 2 decades ago. Collectively, these change makers of all ages and genders can tackle the unfinished business of empowering women through a new groundbreaking multi-generational campaign, which is Generation Equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future. The Generation Equality campaign demands equal pay, equal sharing of unpaid care and domestic work, an end to sexual harassment and all forms of violence against women and girls, healthcare services that respond to their needs, and their equal participation in political life and decision making in all areas of life. We were just talking about the UN's 75th anniversary survey, where again the Secretary General wants to know, what are your priorities. I would request you that some of the discussions that you have here as well, please log on to the UN75.online and share your priorities and responses there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Radhika ma'am, for being here, and it's an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing kind words. Thank you so much, all of you, for attending this beautiful session hosted by UN75. Thank you.